Episode 2 of Mic'd Up with Michael Merlo. Very excited. A big time episode here as we will recap the Subway Series, talk about some big time MLB All-Star Game snubs. We'll talk about Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez being fired by the Washington Nationals. Pretty shocking. Awful timing for the Nats. We'll get into all of that in a little bit. Talk about where the Mets and the Yankees both stand as we are a week away from the All-Star break and the All-Star game. No Pete Alonso in the home run derby for the first time in a very long time. I think basically ever, right? 19, nothing in 20, 21, 20. Yeah, so he is not going to do the All-Star game, the home run derby. So lots to discuss with the Mets and the Yankees and then around the league. I do want to start, though, with the weekend. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. I had a great one, and the Mets certainly added to that. The Mets certainly added to that weekend with 2 wins there. You kind of needed to win Saturday, even though it was Frankie Montas on the mound. You kind of felt like you needed to win because in Friday's game and Sunday's game, I mean, you were basically pitching minor league guys. So Friday, you start with Justin Hageman, and you're in this tight game, and you don't really have Edwin Diaz available, and Ryan Stanek's not really available in that game. And Friday afternoon is a miraculous win, a game that I don't think many people saw them winning. And then getting 2 big innings from Reed Garrett to get the save is incredibly impressive. That Friday win with McNeil hitting the go-ahead 2-run shot in a game that I think the Yankees felt like was a big one. Because remember, they had just lost 4 straight. They had just lost the division lead. And you do look at the matchups in terms of who's starting the game and who you have available in that bullpen, especially if you're the Yankees. And the Yankees had the advantages all weekend for the most part. Even Stroman was a little bit of an advantage in the Friday afternoon game. So that felt like a big one. And then stealing it Saturday, man, to steal the series was unbelievable. And they crushed them. And I have my thoughts on where the Yankees are at. I do. But it was a big day from basically everybody in that Mets lineup. And they crushed the Yankees on Saturday. And then Sunday, we talk about Aaron Boone sending out some punt lineups, right? He'll send a punt lineup out there every now and then. And the Mets, with the way they managed the game Saturday, were basically punting away Sunday because they had a 5 and 6 run lead in the 8th and 9th inning, and they used their top guys to finish that game. Stanek ran into some trouble in that 8th inning. He gave up a run. The Mets got it back. And then they go to Diaz in a 6-run game in the 9th. You could tell Mendoza was sitting there saying, well, we really don't love our chances on Sunday. So let's just get this one. Let's just guarantee this one here by using our top guys. We don't really have many guys available to even pitch these late innings because of the injuries they have in that bullpen. So they were just basically saying, okay, we're going to win this game, and then whatever happens tomorrow happens. That's how they were viewing it, because obviously Stanek and Diaz were not available Sunday. Brazaban was, Garrett was. That was about it. They did not like their chances in that game against Fried, and they really had multiple opportunities to win the baseball game. I mean, Brandon Waddell ended up after the 2-run shot to Judge, really kept it close when the Mets started clawing back. So in a way, it ended up being a frustrating loss because the Mets had so many chances and because you felt like you had no chance in the game. And the manager basically told you that Saturday evening, that he believed that they had no chance in the game. But either way, they won the series and you feel good and you're fine with that. And they rattled off 4 straight wins. They had a 4-2 homestand against 2 good teams, 2 teams over 500 in postseason position. And after that terrible stretch against the Rays, Braves, Phillies, Braves, Pirates, you now feel good. You now are starting to feel good as you head into the All-Star break with reinforcements literally on the way. Jesse Winker probably activated Tuesday. Kodai Senga most likely making a start this weekend in Kansas City. Sean Manaea could be doing the same, if not right after the All-Star break. You're getting your guys back. The reinforcements are coming, and you have to feel good. You have to feel good if you are a Mets fan, especially after that weekend. How about those crowds? Weird. I will say this, very weird playing afternoon games against the Yankees, all 3 games. I was so happy both games were on SNY. Yes, whoever you're watching, the regional network. I'm very happy about that you didn't have to sit through a nationally televised game for both sides, whether you love K or not, whether you love Cohen or not. I don't know a Mets fan that doesn't. I know some Yankee fans that don't like K. But either way, great that they were on the home networks. No nationally televised games. Just a little weird that every game was played during the day. Just a little weird. I don't remember the last time that's happened. I really don't. You had a 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, a 1 o'clock start in each. That was fine, but it was just a little weird. It was just a little weird. Where do we go from here? Let's discuss the Yankees for a second. And if we need more time on the Mets, we will. I have a lot of issues with the way this team is playing right now. And you could say, and I'm not going to lie, I fell for this. I had a lot of conversations with people over the weekend discussing Aaron Boone and, just getting other people's opinions and whether or not I believed I was crazy. And I had thought if the Yankees had lost Sunday, that maybe they should really consider firing Aaron Boone. But on that Sunday morning, I was really thinking about all of the issues with the Yankees and going back in the previous years where I had defended Aaron Boone and said, I really don't think this is on him. I think it's more on Cashman. The more I really started to open my eyes back to that situation. I do kind of think this is more on Cashman than Boone. Boone is playing the guys that he has that were brought in by Brian Cashman. Now, I don't know how involved the Yankee front office, Brian Cashman, whoever else, I don't know how involved those people are in the decision-making in terms of how the lineup is written on a night-to-night basis. I don't. I think they do have some involvement, but I don't know. I don't know who's writing that lineup. And so if I am going to make my guess on who really has the full power here, it's Cashman. And if Cashman and his people in the front office are telling Aaron Boone, hey, we think that Jason Dominguez needs a day off after he hits 2 home runs Friday, plays Saturday, and now he needs a day off after he's starting to really feel himself, and he's been hot the past few weeks. He's been, a very productive offensive player. Defensively, he still can't play left field. He's awful defensively, just like the rest of the team. But that might be coming from Cashman. And now Boone, who's a former player, who we've talked about this so many times on the Burrows, he's a former player, and we all think it's crazy that this guy doesn't believe in hot streaks, that this guy doesn't believe that matters, that you getting hot and feeling good for a week at the plate means nothing. Now you're going to sit. I don't know how a former player could even think that is true, how a former player could even believe that, because it's not. If you've ever played a sport in your life, you know that that's not true. That when you're playing really well over a long period, even if it's a game, even if it's during a game or a weekend, whatever it is, all you want to do is hit. All you want to do is play. So it's remarkable. And I refuse to believe that Aaron Boone doesn't believe that either. I refuse to believe that. I think that is Aaron Boone just defending the organization because that's their philosophy. That's the organizational philosophy, that if there's a scheduled off day, he's going to get it. And Boone is not a puppet, but he's not going to throw anybody under the bus. That's not the kind of guy he is. He's not going to throw somebody under the bus. So if that's a Cashman decision, if that's the assistant general manager decision, whoever it is, he's not going to throw that person under the bus. And that's why they get along so great. Because Boone is a team guy. He's a team guy. And the players, they do respect him. They do like him. Very interesting comment from Aaron Judge after Sunday's game. He asked him about the Mets and, what he thought about the Mets. Mets had come into this series as well, winning 2 games, but prior to that, their worst stretch of the year, their worst stretch in years. And, he had said, the Mets are a good ball club, and it starts with their manager. The Mets are the Mets. They have a really good ball club over there, and it starts with the manager. Shows you the respect that Judge, the captain, has for his former bench coach and now current Met manager, Carlos Mendoza. And I wonder this: if somebody was to ask Aaron Judge about his team in the same way, would he say the same about Aaron Boone? I don't know if he says that right now, but this is the other issue I have with the Yankees as well. It's that when the year started, we had all thought that this team had fixed their main issues from last season. And we're not talking about trying to replace Juan Soto. We're talking about trying to fix the issues they had. Offensively, I had thought they would be a lesser team without one of the 5 best hitters in baseball, and it looks like I'm correct. But but they didn't need to fully replace the offensive production. They just needed to get close to it. And I think they have done that. But one of the main issues they had to correct was base running and defense and just becoming a more athletic ball club. And they've had some base running issues. I do believe they're a little bit more athletic, but defensively, they're still bad. They're still bad defensively. They're still playing guys out of position. Now, again, you could find a way to pin that on the manager. You could find a way, somehow, some way to pin that on Aaron Boone, but I'm not going to do that because Aaron Boone didn't construct this team. Now, I don't know whose choice it is to continue to play Jazz Chisholm, who missed Sunday's game, by the way, which was a must-win for the Yankees because his shoulder was bothering him from throwing the baseball across the diamond at a position he's never played in his entire life, but before he got traded here less than a year ago. I don't know whose decision it is to continue to roll him out there. Because LeMahieu doesn't give you anything. So you can put Jazz at second. And Peraza isn't going to give you anything either, but maybe it'll be better defensively. And he'll be at third. And there you go. But this team needs a third baseman desperately. They need a couple of bullpen arms. And the Clark Schmidt injury is absolutely brutal. It's absolutely brutal. I don't know when Heal's coming back. I'm assuming it's going to be, a little bit after the All-Star break, around there. Will Warren had some good starts, had a terrible start in Toronto. He'll pitch Tuesday. You need him to step up a little bit more now, the way he was before the Toronto start. But it begs the question, do they need to add a starter? Do they need to add a middle of the rotation guy just in case Heal doesn't bounce back right away and Warren isn't the guy that he was the past month or so? Do they need to add another starter? Because God forbid we have Marcus Stroman potentially going out there in a game 4 or pitching big-time innings in this postseason. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So it's a tough loss. Schmidt had really been pitching well, too. It's tough. And Tommy John is probably going to miss the 2026 season, too. It sucks. It really does suck. That's a big loss. Offensively, we brought up how good Dominguez has been for a little bit now. Goldschmidt has taken a slide. Rice has taken a slide. Stanton really hasn't gotten going yet. Grisham, we know about his slide. Judge has been Judge. Nothing else to say there. He had a little bit of a cold stretch about a week or two ago, and you forgot about that. And did the Mets intentionally walk him once? I wonder if the Mets intentionally walked him once this week. I got to go back and look. I don't think so. Maybe once. I don't think there weren't really many opportunities to do so, but I wonder if they did. I got to go look at that. But either way, you got guys like Bellinger who are playing really well. Jazz, since coming back, has been good, and he just got selected to the All-Star team, voted in by the players. They've had some guys step up offensively. Wells is very hot and cold, not getting on base like he used to, but in terms of the catcher position, you're not going to freak out. Obviously, you've got nothing out of second base, and Anthony Volpe has been an unmitigated disaster offensively and defensively. Does not look like a major league player. You have his dad screaming at Met fans in the stands because they were talking crap about him in the middle of the game. Volpe's dad wanted. If you haven't seen this video, it's insane. But Volpe's dad wants to sit there and try and fight these fans. His daughter, I guess it was, because it looked like him, was holding him back, try to get him from standing up. It was insane. It was insane. It's got to be tough. It does have to be tough for Anthony Volpe's dad. I'll defend him. You're in New York. He's the shortstop for the New York freaking Yankees. Grew up a Yankee fan, a Jeter fan, and he's in this position, and he had such high expectations, and he hasn't lived up to them at all, and he's struggled. He's really struggled. So it's got to be tough. I can't relate to it because I don't know, but it's got to be tough. But he's been bad. He's been really bad for this team. So, and he almost took out Aaron Judge in the middle of the inning. So that was also good, throwing the ball at his face. But the Yankees, inconsistencies, terrible defensively. The bullpen's been really shaky, really shaky. You feel like when you get to that bullpen, especially the Mets, in a game in which they really had no business being in, they get to the pen after they knock Fried out, and I'm like, oh, there's a chance they win this game. Now, the Mets needed multiple runs because they didn't have any relievers left, but I'm sitting there saying you have a chance. The Mets have a chance here. But the Yankees, I don't believe in this team. I don't know where to rank them in terms of the AL East, because while Michael Kay had a little sit down before the game on Sunday on Yes, talking about how unprofessional it was that the Blue Jays post-game team was, commenting on what he said about the Blue Jays not being a first-place team, I happen to agree with him. I happen to agree with Michael Kay about that. I don't truly believe that this team at least is going to finish the season in first place. They're better than I expected. They've gotten some really good contributions from a bunch of different spots where you wouldn't have expected it. But I don't fully trust them. I don't think they're going to win this division. I think it's going to come down to the Yankees or the Rays. I think I trust the Rays more right now. Right now, as currently constructed, I think I trust the Rays more. We're going to have to see the head-to-head as we get later in the season, and the Yankees are going to have home field advantage in every scenario. So that makes you question some things as well. But the AL East, which I considered over, I considered the AL East over about a month or two ago. I said there's no chance anybody is going to come and touch the Yankees. Not that the Yankees were so good. Nobody in the division was really playing well. And yes, the Yankees were playing well. They weren't the best team in baseball. I didn't even think they were the best team in the American League. But I just felt they had a comfy lead and nobody was going to touch them. And now this division is a full race. It's a full-blown division race to finish this season now. I think it's going to be close, wire to wire. You have the Red Sox playing well now. They're going to get Bregman back at some point after the break. They're 3.5 games behind the Yankees. I mean, this thing is going to get interesting. This division is going to get very interesting. And now, what if the Red Sox buy? What if the Blue Jays are buyers? What if the Rays make some small moves that end up being big moves because they know exactly what they're doing in terms of making trades and player acquisitions? What happens then? The Yankees need a big move. They need a big-time move if they're going to win this division, and we're going to have to see what happens. But I don't love this. I don't love the situation that the Yankees are in currently. I don't. I really don't. They need another big bat. They have no protection in that lineup for Judge. As good as Bellinger has played and as good as Jazz has played, they're both inconsistent, especially Jazz. And I don't think there's any true protection in this lineup where you say to yourself, I am petrified to face this guy. Just don't. I don't see it. How about some all-star snubs? How about the big one? Actually, we won't start with the big one. Trey Turner, not an all-star. Trey Turner's been great. I was wrong about Trey Turner. I had been a big Trey Turner hater. I still think the contract's going to end up being terrible. I mean, I really do think the contract's going to end up being terrible. But there were a couple here that I thought were really bad all-star snubs. We'll start with Turner, obviously, at short. How about Andy Pajes in the outfield? Seiya Suzuki leads the league in RBIs. He's been really good. And obviously, the big one, I just don't understand how Juan Soto is left off of the All-Star team. I don't understand it. The guy has been unbelievable for close to a month and a half now. And I have a crazy stat here that was sent to me this morning. Only 7 players in MLB history have recorded at least 20 home runs, 70 walks, 15 doubles, and 10 stolen bases prior to the All-Star game, to the All-Star break. And Juan Soto would be the only one not to make the All-Star team. It's incredible. The guy's got a 906 OPS. His WAR numbers. You know what? Please. I understand defense is an important part of the game. I get that. And I obviously, if you listen to me speak, if you listen to the Burrows, I value offense a lot more, as most people should. But I don't sit there. Like, Juan Soto is not a great defender. I'm not going to sit here and defend his defense. But I don't sit there on a nightly basis and say, I really hope the ball doesn't get to right field. I'm not sitting there saying that. He's not a great defender, but I don't think he's a liability in right field. I don't think he's killed the Mets in right field. Have there been a couple of misplays? Sure. Doesn't every outfielder have a couple of misplays? I really don't think he's been that terrible. And I watch every game. I don't think he's been that terrible in right field. Am I crazy? Am I completely crazy? And I don't know how they come up with these numbers to rate outfielders. I don't. And there's different, you have B WAR, F WAR, and his B WAR is a lot better than his F WAR because the F WAR values defense more. I mean, please, enough. The guy's been one of the best offensive players in the league. But Fernando Tatis is in the game after basically since the first month of the year. He's been he's got like a 700 OPS, he's been a mid player offensively, but his defense is good. And how are Yankee fans not up in arms about Julio Rodriguez, who has an under 700 OPS in the All-Star game over a guy like Cody Bellinger, who's been solid? I mean, that makes no sense to me that Julio Rodriguez is in this All-Star game. That makes no sense to me. None at all. Julio Rodriguez. How are you okay with this if you're a Yankee fan? Julio Rodriguez is a 695 OPS. His OPS plus is 103. 3 points better than the average. I mean, please. Give me a break. Give me a freaking break with this. And Soto's not an all-star. And Suzuki's not an all-star. And I'm a big Corbin Carroll fan. Missed some time. Probably not going to play in the game. He's probably not going to play in the game. But still. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I've seen people say Kodai Senga should have been an all-star. I don't really think so. He missed time. I'm not going to go. But if this is going to be something that motivates Soto, then I'm perfectly okay with this. Because he said, it's got to come back better. Got to be better. Got to come back stronger. Those were his words. But I don't know how much stronger he has. If he's going to be better than this, watch out, league. Watch out. Guy's got a 904 OPS, a 160 OPS plus. He's got 21 homers, 51 RBIs. Guy's been a stud. Leads the league in walks. He's unbelievable. And he's a Met. Did that hurt him? I don't know. Was there some jealousy involved when I have the player? Here we have the player list, which I will pull up as long as I can find it quick. Because I just had it before. Did I pass it? I passed it. I have the player list of like how they voted for certain players. I think Bowden tweeted it. And like where they ranked in terms of how the players voted. which is fascinating. No, I don't have it. I don't have it. I had the player list. But basically, if you're not voted in by the players and or if you're not voted in by both players and fans, you don't get in. So he wasn't voted in by the fans, and for whatever reason, the players didn't vote him in. So who's your gripe with? Good weekend around baseball. The numbers were up all over. Jason Stark posted it. That's who posted it. So you have the pitchers, obviously, are voted on by the players. And I think the managers also have something to do with that. But in terms of the catchers, so obviously Riley gets in. He was the fan vote. And then Alejandro Kirk got in as well. Jonathan Aranda got most of the votes at first base. Guerrero's obviously going to start it, but Aranda got in rightfully so. Brandon Lau, who should be starting the game at second base, got in. Torres starting. He was in by the fans. Bregman got in. I don't know if he, obviously, I don't think he's going to be back. Jose Ramirez is starting. He was voted in. And Jeremy Pena, he got in from the player votes, and he was the top shortstop with second. Obviously, Judge, Buxton got in, and everybody else besides Rodriguez were also voted in by the fans. Buxton and Rodriguez voted in by the players. And Tatis and Wood were the other guys voted in, and Carroll were voted in by the players in terms of the player votes in the All-Star game. De La Cruz voted in as well. No Betts, rightfully so. Betts is not having a good year. Suarez in the game at third base. Donovan in the game at second base. Alonso got most of the votes for first base starter. Freeman will obviously be starting that game. Hunter Goodman got voted in as the catcher, the other catcher. And then you obviously have the pitchers. Diaz, the last Met to get in. They have 3 All-Stars, should be 4. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at with the pitchers and the position players. That's who got in. And I'm excited. It should be good. They're wearing the regular uniforms again. They're wearing their own uniforms. So they have an All-Star Game hat, which I'm fine with. You have the All-Star Game hat, and then you go into your regular uniforms, your regular colors. Should be fun. Truist Park's a beautiful park, so it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Lindor starting, Pete in, Pete no home run derby, as I mentioned at the top. And now we'll move this over to Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez being fired by the Nationals. I've always been a Mike Rizzo guy. I think he's done I've always thought he has done a good job, especially with this rebuild. But you look at things more closely within the organization, and you kind of get a sense like, okay, maybe this had to happen. Maybe this did have to happen. You know, the player development has not been good. They haven't hit on international signings. There's been some things that have been missed, but he has made some great opportunistic trades. As we know, they traded Turner and Scherzer in the big blockbuster deal to the Dodgers. And obviously the Soto deal might end up being one of the greatest trades maybe in the history of the sport. There's a possibility that it's one of the greatest trades ever. And remember something, that trade is fueled by financial decisions and ownership malpractice, right? There was talks about Ted Lerner, the owner of the Nationals, selling the team and who was going to have say and who was going to be paying the contracts. And they offered him big time money. He obviously declined it. Rightfully so, he declined it. And they were kind of stuck. And they had this opportunity to make this blockbuster deal. And it's panned out. Now, many people would tell you that on its own, that standing on its own could keep you your job. And he's been the longest tenured, one of the longest tenured general managers besides for Brian Cashman in the league. So it's pretty shocking. And the timing of it. They have the first overall pick in the draft coming up in, what is it, a week? I mean, you're a week away from the draft. You have the first overall pick. You have a trading deadline, which, you know, they don't have a ton of guys that they're going to be selling off, but the deadline's coming up. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane, the timing of them being fired. Now, Davey Martinez is very interesting. Remember, Davey Martinez made some very interesting comments in June after a loss. the reporter asked him, who's this on, basically, like, what do you attribute this to? And he said, the blame never goes on the coaches. It's always on the players. And he pinned it on his players. They were going through a tough stretch. And he pinned it on the players. And that might have been the writing on the wall for him. He might have dug his own grave with that one. You can't blame the players. You can't do that. And he led them to their first World Series, him and Rizzo together. They had just signed extensions. I mean, it's to see that news. Listen, they haven't been a great organization, but they've also not had great ownership the past few years. I mean, they've gone into this rebuild and they've refused to spend money. And I think part of this also, they expected to compete a little bit this year, not for a playoff spot, but be better than where they are, be better than the fourth worst record in the entire sport. And when you have the Braves really struggling and you have the Marlins who have jumped the Braves and are in third place and playing well, and they have a young executive, big time analytics, they're not spending a ton of money. Maybe the owner of the Nationals, the ownership of the Nationals, who again have not been great, look around and say, this should be us. We have this young, talented team that people are excited for heading into the future. This should be us taking advantage of a couple of teams in our division not being good. And we should be winning these games. And we should be the talk of, wow, the surprise team. And they're not, because I thought this team was going to compete. I thought this team was going to have a good year. Sit around close to 500, go over their win total. Couple of games under 500. And they haven't done that. They haven't done that in a division that everybody thought was going to be this crazy, crazy tough division with three teams at the top, possibly making the playoffs again. You have the Braves sitting in fourth place, 12 games under, whatever it is. And the Marlins sitting there 6 games under. That would frustrate me if I was an owner of the Washington Nationals, expecting my team to take some sort of jump this season with all these young players and all this young talent. I would have thought we would have taken a jump, and maybe that is on the manager and partly on the general manager. But fascinating that they are traded. Oh, they are fired a week before the draft. A week before the draft. That was a lot. 30 minutes. That was good. We're going to end it here. We're going to have a live Burrows, more reaction to the Subway Series, where the Yankees stand, where the Mets stand. I want to save a lot of that for tomorrow. I touched on some things with the Yankees, touched on a couple of things with the Mets. But more on that tomorrow. Will be live on YouTube at 11 a.m. The Burrows, me, Kevin Bunk, and then we will have all of that posted wherever you get your podcasts immediately after we record that. And that'll be fun. So look out for that tomorrow. This will be out wherever you get your podcasts. We really appreciate you listening, watching, whatever you're doing, and we'll talk to you next time.